Hello, everybody. It's Paul Valencia. This is the Clark County Today Sports Podcast. Still looking for a better name. Tony Liberatore from Vancouver Public Schools is to my left.
Yo.
Cale Piland from Evergreen Public Schools is kind of straight directly. I don't know. It doesn't matter. This is audio only, but just envision us in a triangle
Someday maybe there's a video feed, right?
Yeah, but you don't want to see that with me.
The ring camera up in the corner.
Yeah, exactly. So, shoot, I've got to wear a tie. Hey, we just said the date, October 11th, right?
Wednesday, October 11th, 2023.
So this will post probably on Thursday, and Thursday night football is a big game between Battleground and Union. We're going to get to that in a second, but we're going to talk about the biggest game of the week for 4A football is going to be Skyview and Camas again. But we're going to go through kind of all the leagues and just kind of, in this podcast episode, we'll go through all the leagues as we go hit the stretch run. And then we're going to talk a little bit about, pro sports and rooting for players who were on your favorite team who are now in the postseason, and your team is not. And I have a lot of experience in that as a Raider fan, and I'm seeing this Mariner closer keeps tweeting out, "Hey, it's as fun to play in October," and I'm like, I didn't know the Mariners made it, but that's that Seawald guy, right?
That's pretty funny. Paul. That's funny, Paul.
Yeah, they don't.
That's why it's Paul and Paul. See. Paul Seawald, Paul Valencia. Yeah. That's your connection.
Yeah, they don't like my humor. These Mariner fans do not like my humor. But anyway, yeah, we'll talk about, do you root for those guys? Because anyway, we'll get into that too. And then whatever else comes up, we just kind of wing it here when it comes to that after the main topic. But again, I know Thursday night football is a big game between Battleground and Union, but we're going to talk first of all Skyview-Camas, and I got a few notes here, and I promise I won't monopolize the whole time to begin. But I got more notes after this note. But Camas leads this all-time series 13-4. Skyview won in 2011. Camas has won the last 12 meetings, including 2 games in 2015, and that was the second game was a state playoff game, and Skyview led almost the whole game. And it's just so weird. Is there a jinx? Is there a curse? And I can tell you there's 4 or 5 games where Skyview coulda, shoulda, woulda, had, oh my gosh, opportunities last year, up 33-14 with 9 minutes left, or maybe even 6 minutes left before Camas scored its first touchdown.
Yeah.
And so, do you guys as former coaches and administrators, do you sometimes fall into that? Are we jinxed? Are we cursed? Or whatever when it happens to you and your team?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes, I do that. Absolutely. If does Skyview need to burn a Camas T-shirt or something? In baseball especially, I'm superstitious when it comes to the Mariners.
Yeah.
Burn the sage in the locker room.
Yeah.
Whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
Because, and I don't mean to make it like this. Skyview, I think, has had a couple better teams.
The last few years, yes, absolutely.
And last year, we coincidentally called that game for VPS Game Time.
Yep.
And I don't know how Skyview didn't win that game.
I've got some notes on that one, but we're going to go to Cale first. And what do you feel about just are we cursed? Oh my gosh, jinxed. What is it? Or just,
I'm very superstitious when it comes to my professional sports fandom. That's a whole separate thing. I will say this. There were times where I wouldn't allow, so we essentially had different, coaching uniforms that we would wear on Fridays on the sideline, and if something went bad in one, that it was done for the year. We weren't putting that back on.
So
for
Evergreen
sure.
and Union. I remind our readers that you were a great coach before you got demoted to admin.
Yes, right. Yes. But in fact, some of my coaches they're like, God, we're never going to wear this again. I like this shirt, and I'm like, nope, we're not wearing it.
We're not wearing it. Got it.
Put it in the closet.
So Skyview needs a new color combination. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, I don't know, but here's I think. The more sports psychology side is how do the players and the coaches react to when the streak is that long?
Right. That is.
And I do think that there is something with preparation and how you respond to things during a game where that stuff can play a part in not only preparation, but then responding to something, especially in football. Right. Where, there's, a big chunk play or a turnover, and then, just as a coach, I'm like, oh, here we go again.
Right.
You know, you hate to do that, but you got to try to make adjustments so that doesn't happen.
You do. I mean, the thing with high school sports is that can be a very real thing that will get into sometimes coaches, but more oftentimes kids. It'll get into their head. Like I know there were times, especially like at Evergreen, we won the league the year after we won the state championship, and that team. That team probably overachieved more than any other team that I coached. And I think some of it was because teams didn't think that they were supposed to beat us, and we weren't going to, tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, this isn't the same team that just won the state title, right? Yeah. But I do know, and in talking to some of the coaches after the year, it was so that can become a very real thing for kids to believe who should or who should not win the game.
It's like the Tiger Woods effect at his peak.
Yeah.
If he had, no one could beat Tiger Woods when he was in the lead in the final round. I was like, it's Tiger. Who's going to beat that guy? And Camas has earned that. They've done such a great job of,
yes,
so
but
long.
what I would to counter that. They're high school kids, and high school populations turn over, and so the team that was the team last year is not necessarily the team that was this year, and so, if there is a way to break a streak like that, high school sports I think is probably one of the easier places for that to happen because it's different kids every year. Now, granted, tradition means a lot. Tradition means a heck of a lot, but Skyview has tradition.
Absolutely.
So and in fact, I would say there were some years in this streak. Especially the year when you were rattling through some of those, Paul, where they lost to them, I think in week 9, and then came back through the bracket and played Camas again. Yeah. Camas was, in my opinion, was better in those years, but Skyview gave them everything, all that they could handle in those games.
Absolutely.
And I think some of that, when you have, Kaiser's obviously been at Steve Kaiser's been at Skyview for a long time. Jack and that the Camas staff pretty much has been at Camas for a long time, so you get very familiar as coaching staffs with each other. In fact, I liked it once we got out of league and we got into the postseason, because then we're playing somebody who isn't as familiar with us. Whereas if I was coaching, if this was a Union Skyview game, I knew Kaiser was very familiar with what we were going to do, and we were very familiar with what they were going to do. So then you kind of got to start, okay, how are we going to put a little wrinkle here? How are we going to put a little wrinkle there? It just kind of there's a lot of different variables when you have that familiarity with each other.
Gotcha. Well, it's funny you're talking about, that kind of stuff about just believing or whatever. Tony and I were in the broadcast booth last year. It's 33-14 with 9:51 left because Skyview scored on the very first play of the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that the Skyview fans were chanting, warm up the bus. Yes. And I rewatched that today just to see what did I say, because I thought I was brilliant. And as I pat myself on the back, I was brilliant. I said it right then. The students might be saying it, but there's no one on the Skyview sideline who's saying it, because the coaches know what's been going on in this rivalry. And it is a rivalry, even if it's one-sided. But for whatever reason, Camas knows how to get it done, and Skyview has not been able to yet figure it out. And I said on the air, this game is not over. Yep. It's 33-14 with 9 minutes left. Sure enough, since that time, 33-14, Camas scored a touchdown. Took long minutes to get the touchdown. Got a perfect onside kick. Scored again. Then Skyview went 3 and out, and then Camas scored with 7 seconds left in the game to take the lead. So Skyview had 2 desperation plays after they fell behind. So they had 5 plays in the fourth quarter after being up 33-14, and Camas won the game. And while it was a sports miracle of a comeback for Camas, it didn't surprise anyone who knows anything about this rivalry. And so it's just, and it's like, I've got, the AD at Skyview always teases me. It's like, you always bring up the jinx, Paul. You always bring up the jinx. And I get it. I'm sorry. I'm not bringing up the jinx. I'm just one of those guys this week. I mean, this is the best Skyview team in years. I mean, this team is awesome. And
fast.
It is awesome. Now, Camas is still good, but is it the best Camas team in years? Well, that's a higher bar, because we've got state championships and second place teams at Camas in the last 10 years. So I don't know how great they are. They're still good, and they're still got an incredible defense. It's going to be an awesome game. It's going to be an awesome challenge. But yeah, can Skyview win? Of course they can, but it's one of those things until they actually win. Seeing is believing type of thing. And so I'm not on any broadcast booth, but I'll be at the game covering it, and I expect Skyview to be in it, but I will until they actually win it. I can't say yes. Skyview's definitely going to win.
You know who really doesn't like how you're talking about this game right now, Paul? It's the people in Camas.
Yeah,
they do not like the fact that you're laying this out here like that.
Is this the Valencia jinx?
So am I doing the kicker jinx type?
A
of
little
thing?
bit, yes.
This kicker hasn't missed in 6
There
years.
you go. There you go.
This is a chip shot. Yeah, okay.
That's funny. But okay, so we talked about last year. So in 2021, there's a defensive battle. Camas won 17-7. In the abbreviated game, which is a season that not too many people care about or whatever, there was nothing really. But even in that game, which I thought Skyview was probably the better team, Camas rallied and won in double overtime. It's 38-31. It was a fantastic game. And then 2019, Camas won 21-17. In mid-fourth quarter, Skyview running back stretches the ball toward the goal line in an effort to take the lead. And the fumble. Now, did he cross the goal line or not? It doesn't matter what the camera angle says.
No.
The officials ruled he fumbled, and he fumbled. And Skyview was that close to taking the lead. And then 2018 was crazy. Skyview receiver breaks free. He's going in for like a 70-yard touchdown. The turf monster at Kiggins gets him. He falls down to the 4-yard line. So it's first and goal at the 4. And 4 plays later, on fourth down, a 100-yard pick six for Camas. A 14-point swing, and Camas won by 13 points that night. Wow. I mean, it's just, this stuff goes on and on and on. 2015, the state playoff game, Skyview led for much of the game. Camas scored in the closing seconds to win that game, and there was a pick six in that game, too, in Camas' favor. So it's just, oh my gosh, it just, yeah. So Skyview, yeah. I believe in you, Skyview, but I got to see it too. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So, but I can't wait for Friday night, and I don't care who wins. I just want to see a great game. That's what I always tell people, and it's the truth. There's only one team I care about who wins, and that's the Raiders.
And they did this week.
And they did, yeah. That's right. So, so let's go to the other side. Are you guys cool with moving on?
Sure.
Or okay?
Thank you.
We can roll.
Battleground Union, a huge game. And I wrote, really? Why is this a huge game? And that's a compliment to Battleground, even if it seems like a backhanded compliment. But Battleground has done nothing over the last few years to think that there's a big game involving Battleground. But this year, 6-0, 5-0, 6-0?
Yeah, they're undefeated.
Yeah. Undefeated Battleground. And 3 teams from a 4-team league make the playoffs. Is that right, Cale?
That is correct.
And so, Battleground versus Union is a game. You want to talk about that one, Cale, first, since you're a former?
Well, no, I just think obviously Mike Woodward has done a great job in again, so much in high school sports is about belief, and it's, you don't go 6-0 without kids believing in what the direction that coaches are trying to take the program. So, yeah, I mean, they're right there, and you're right. It's been a long time. It was as far as long as I can remember, it's been a foregone conclusion since it's been a 4-team league that if there were 3 teams, who the 3 teams were going to be.
Right.
And that's not the case anymore.
Right.
People are focusing on, Union, they've won 2 in a row after struggling early, and focusing just on this Battleground Union piece. I'm sure if you're a Battleground kid or a Battleground coach right now, you're not putting any limitations on the next 2 weeks either. Right. So, but again, it has to be a situation where they got to do it. Mm-hmm. And so, this is the first test that's in front of them and really arguably for a 4-team league, it could be historically, and at least in recent history, the one of the toughest 4A leagues in the state, given the success of Skyview, Union, and Camas.
Right.
But this is step 1 for them. So yeah, it gives whoever wins that game, it gives them definitely an inside track to a playoff berth.
Last week, by the way, I went to the Hudson's Bay Washougal game. Hudson's Bay was in first place in the 2A JSHL, and I told the Hudson's Bay coaches I never dreamed in week 6 that I'd be at a Hudson's Bay game. So that's a compliment that was kind of like the big game of the week. Yep. It's like, because they've done so well. Same thing with, Battleground football. Wow. And then Union last week, did they go and beat
Stanwood? Yeah, they went at Stanwood.
And Stanwood scored at will against Union last year. Yep. So that's a nice turnaround in 1 year to come back and win that game.
Yep.
So Union is improving as well. And but every game matters in the 4A GSHL with only 3 league games. So whoever wins has got to step in the right direction to making the playoffs. Tony, your thoughts on
I think just a little bit what Cale was saying, having coached against Coach Woodward and then He was at Woodland when I was AD at Columbia River. I know his teams are going to be prepared. And I think to an extent, Battleground has a little bit of that, like, do we belong? Mm-hmm. I think there's I know that Mike doesn't have that long a history. I mean, coaching history. I mean, he went to school there, but I just think these kids, can we get Union? Can we get one of the big three? I think that's appropriate. I mean, this, it's been the SEC East right? for really. I mean, we talk about that when we announce, and Camas has won the last 10 years. Union's won a title. Skyview's, always they've done semifinals and quarterfinal runs, and so it's a big, deep league.
Right.
So,
right.
Battleground, good for them. I'm glad that Woody's there.
Right. And in another incredible game matchup on Friday night, we're going to move over to Class 1A. It's Seton Catholic versus Le Center. And by the way, WIA puts out the RPI every week, and if you could see Cale roll his eyes right there, everyone, Cale,
I think I heard it.
Yeah, his eyes rolled, and all of us, nobody who follows high school sports in Washington cares about the RPI, especially for football. It's just too small of a sample size, as they say.
Yeah,
and it's really just based on who your score was, and if you're, so but I don't think there's a human being out there who thinks Seton Catholic is the second best team in the state right now. And that's not a rip on Seton Catholic. They're 6-0, and they'd never won more than 5 games in a season. So this is their first time having the success, but the computer spits out number 2. But I saw another computer that had them in the top 5 or 6 as well. And again, it's based on scores and stuff.
Yeah.
But who cares? I mean, they're still 6-0, and the schedule's in front of them, and they won all the games. They've beaten teams that they've never beaten before. Yeah. And now they got a chance to take on mighty Le Center for first place and most likely the league championship here in week 7. And of course, Le Center's ranked in the top 5 in that computer ranking as well. But Le Center's always there. Every year they're in the top 10. And whether it's a human poll or a computer poll, Le Center's always there. So Le Center is the established program. Seton Catholic's trying to do something special. But Tony, I think it was you talking about maybe it was a few episodes ago, but that Seton Catholic wants to build, and become a kind of a sports power.
This is maybe that first hurdle.
Yep.
Like you said, Le Center has the tradition, and I think the game's at Le Center, and this would be it. I think it's Seton Catholic, but I guess I could double check that. But either way, either way, I mean,
nobody's going to have bus lag,
right? Correct, the bus lag, the dreaded bus lag. But I just think it is, when we did talk about Seton just becoming that football or athletic powerhouse in Clark County, usually we'll start with football. Yep. And so, this is a big test.
Absolutely. Cale?
Yeah, and just on the other side of that, I mean, John Lambert's built an incredible program at Le Center, and when he took the program over, were they still on the longest losing streak in the country, or had it just recently ended?
It might have just recently ended.
It just had ended.
But it wasn't. I mean, it was
like 10 years earlier.
No, it was literally the longest losing streak in high school football in the country.
I think Le Center was national news for football for all the all the wrong reasons.
So I mean, just imagine taking a program from there to where he's elevated it to. So Seton Catholic's got their work cut out for him. I'm sure Coach Lambert has some tricks up his sleeve.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Especially with the wing tee stuff. So.
Exactly.
I don't even know if you can call it that, man. He's
evolved so much.
Oh my goodness.
He has. That's true.
Yeah, but it's all from the basics of that.
Yes. I will tell you that coaches, 4A coaches, 3A coaches are very excited to have John Lambert stay in the 1A league because if he brought that offense, you brought that scheme to the 4A league, I mean, you have to change what you do defensively. Everything. You just have to change. Your rules are a little bit different, and you have to get your kids schemed up a little bit differently. He would make a lot of people nervous if he tried to bring that to a larger league.
And I know people have asked him, hey, you want to come over here? Yeah. I see Tony waving his hand. I think there might be someone else in this room.
I may have had a conversation or two with John myself. Yes.
But I think John Lambert, mayor of Le Center. I know he's not really the mayor, but he might be the most popular guy in Le Center.
Well, there's something to be said when you got a good thing going and you like what you're doing. There's something to just being able to know that
he's earned it, and he's also got great principles and great character stuff that I've written about before. He's one of my One of my favorite people I've ever known who coaches people, and not just because of football, but because of the stuff that he stands for and tries to teach his guys. So, but that doesn't mean there's not other people who do it too. But he's just done it for so long at La Center.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he commented on because he's been the head coach there. So I wrote since before the turn of the century. I wrote that.
Sure.
I wrote that a couple
true.
weeks ago,
Well,
and it's true.
It's accurate.
And he goes, "I didn't get here in the 1800s, Paul." So, but it's. I think it's. Hey, we're in 2023 now. We're almost a quarter away through this century.
I think his first year
So-
was he was an assistant.
Yeah.
And I think his first year head coach was fall 98.
Yeah, yeah. So he's been the coach since before the turn of the century,
Coaches.
and he called me out on that on Twitter. It's like, hey, I wasn't in the Civil War, I promise. But anyway, all right, let's move on to the 2AGSHL, which is the craziest.
This is a crazy league this year.
Crazy league. We had defending champion Washougal was shocked by Woodland. No one saw that really coming. And then the next week, Woodland loses to Columbia River. And Columbia River, I don't think, had won a game until then.
Right.
And then Washougal loses to Ridgefield, which wasn't necessarily a shock because Ridgefield's a really good program. But Ridgefield lost to Hudson's Bay, and then Washougal then crushes Hudson's Bay. Yeah. So there's no undefeated teams left.
And River loses to Hawkinson.
And then beat up River.
Right. Yeah.
Who had put 50 or had 60 and 50, 40 points put on them.
I can't figure that league out.
I can't figure it out.
The transitive properties do not apply.
In fact, I wrote that Hudson's Bay, if they win out, will be the number one seed.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the last time a number one seed lost by 40 points in a league game.
Yeah.
But
That's a good point.
I want to say either Evergreen or Skyview shared a league title.
That must have been 99?
In the late 2000s.
It would have been after I was gone.
It was after you left Evergreen. And,
Evergreen was still 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, Evergreen was still 4A, and
it might have been.
They both won. They both lost a game, but one of them beat up the other.
It might have been 2007.
Right. And,
it might have been 2007.
And so one of them got the top seed, but the other one was the number 2 seed, but still is considered a league champion and got crushed. And it just doesn't happen much. You're league champion.
Right.
No. And so Hudson's Bay still can accomplish all of its goals, but they've got Woodland this week, so it's 3-1 versus 3-1. So they'll only there can only be 2 teams with 1 loss going into week 8 now, and that because Ridgefield only has 1 loss, and then Ridgefield's taking on Columbia River this week, and could Columbia River win that game? At the beginning of the season, we thought no, but now you think, well, yes, they can. This league is that
it is that kooky.
Even.
Yeah.
Well, and there's been a ton of significant injuries in a few of those key programs, so I think that's playing a part. But that's football.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So, all right, the 3AGSHL, Mountain View beat Evergreen a couple weeks back in the rivalry game, and on paper, me and some of the other journalists in the area, we all thought, well, I guess that's the league title, because I think that same night Prairie was beating Kelso.
Yes, and then Mountain View turned around and beat Prairie last week.
Yeah,
so
so Mountain View Kelso still need to play.
They do,
right?
So did Evergreen Kelso.
Oh, okay,
yeah, and but it's just one of those things that for the league title, Mountain View has to win. Yeah, you have to win out to be the league champion by yourself, and but on paper that looks promising for Mountain View. So I'm saying,
and things are a little. There's less room for error in the 3As because they only get 2 teams into week 10.
Yes. So the real battle is going to be for second place.
Yeah.
So
yes, I mean,
in theory, again, if we pencil in Mountain View,
Coach Hart would not like you talking the way you're talking, Paul.
But I'll say good things about Coach Hart because he's got that football look. I mean, he's got the look of a football coach on the sideline. He knows what he's doing. He looks very organized. And you're right, he does not like to talk beyond. If today we're Wednesday, if I talk to him right now, he'd only want to talk about what he's going to do on Wednesday's practice. And then tomorrow, now we'll focus on Thursday. He's not a guy. He doesn't even look ahead to Friday's game. He's looking forward to the next hour of practice.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's one of those guys, and that's fine. But I can, I'm a journalist and an observer of football in Collier County. I've been doing it a lot of years, so I can say he's got the look of a football coach, and it's working because they're winning.
Yeah.
And this was the year that, hey, is Evergreen, can Evergreen really establish itself? And, Evergreen's been doing good the last couple of years, but they thought maybe this would be a really, really big Evergreen year. And right now, Mountain View's back. on top. So
Yeah, I saw the Mountain View play Prairie last week. Mountain View looked pretty good.
Yeah, and we know just based on scores, the Mountain View Kelso's been a weird game for years too. Who knows what, but I still, right now, to me, it looks like Kelso's a little down from what they've been, and Mountain View's on this rise. And then, of course, I love the Heritage Timberwolves in their fight, but they're still struggling. They're a year or two away on the rebuild.
Yep.
So we just don't, I don't see Heritage being the team that knock off Mountain View. Is what I'm saying. No offense to the Timberwolves.
Timberwolves are young and they're battling and they're building.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. Great. That's like a positive Paul answer.
Oh yeah,
Cale can do it. Everyone, he can be positive. Yeah. Well, speaking of positive, now he might not be so positive as we move to. Hey, the Major League Baseball playoffs are on, everybody. The Oakland A's shockingly did not make the playoffs. So
that was a shocker.
My quote favorite team. What did they end up winning? 50? I don't know. I stopped.
I'll be honest. I didn't.
I don't know.
I think they actually won more games than people thought they were going to. But.
Now, did you see this week though? So I forget the gentleman's name. The guy who owns the Warriors. He did say.
Oh yeah.
He did say he would be interested in purchasing the A's. He said, I know they're not for sale right now, and the plan is to move them to Las Vegas, but if they were for sale, I would be very interested in buying them.
That'd be great. And then I assume he means buy them and keep them in Oakland.
Yeah.
So that would be cool if they could work that out. So I hope Oakland doesn't lose all three teams.
Yeah.
So
it's close.
I do. I love my stadium in Vegas. Don't get me wrong, but I love the roots of Oakland. I love the new stadium in Vegas. And so,
well, let me ask you this then.
Okay.
So it's your choice. They can be in Vegas or they could still be in Oakland. And don't take any of the ramifications as to it's better financially for the team. You can get better play. Just your choice. Everything else is equal.
Wow. Like it's tough because the stadium would be an outdoor stadium. It wouldn't be wow, that's a tough one. Well, because I love Vegas so much, as just going to Vegas.
Yeah.
So my favorite city to visit, and then my favorite team moves there, and I have tickets. And oh my God, it was great for me. It's weird, all the people complaining, all the Oakland only fans complaining that Vegas has lost their home field advantage, and all these people come to the stadium to just and the people who have the tickets sell them. Well, I'll be honest, it's tough not to sell my tickets sometimes.
Sure,
I could for almost one game, I could pay for the whole season tickets for the whole next year. That's how expensive my tickets have been going.
Yeah.
So I know that's not the question. I loved the Oakland atmosphere. The games at Oakland were special. Vegas is a different kind of special. And it's a different kind of tradition. But for my family, we like the Vegas stadium. It's the grown-up stadium. There haven't been any fan issues or behavior issues that we've seen in our section around our area. Every stadium has a lot of that stuff. So we just feel more comfortable as a family, my wife, my daughter. But for me and the black hole and all that, I do miss that Oakland thing. And absolutely there wouldn't be as many opposing fans coming to Oakland. And that's not a rip on the Raiders or the stadium. It's just Oakland's not a tourist destination. If you're another team and you go, oh, my team plays in Vegas and I can only go to one road game a year, you're going to go to that. And then you're going to pay the price. The cheapest ticket for the Pittsburgh game 2 weeks ago, 20 minutes before kickoff, was $800 on secondary market for one.
Wow.
And that wasn't a great ticket. It wasn't the best seat. And so... I can
neither
tell you,
team are barn burners.
My seat, but it was the whole city of Pittsburgh showed up in Vegas and they all wanted to get tickets in the last minute.
Yeah.
So the secondary, we kept looking from our seats. We kept looking because we also had a friend of ours who was trying to get in. He ended up paying $800 just to get in. And it's just crazy. So anyway,
I fear the first time the Hawks go down there that it'll be that or more because the flight. First of all, the flights from Seattle to get down to Vegas is it's pretty cheap, right?
Right.
And the novelty will definitely be there for Seahawks fans.
Yeah, and that's the one thing about my season tickets in Vegas is that I never have to. The Raiders can be bad, and the secondary market will still be there because of opposing fans, and and it's kind of proving out right now because we didn't make the playoffs last year and started off pretty bad this year, even though we got the win on Monday night and I was there and it was a blast being there. But boy, that's a tough question. No, I love the atmosphere in Oakland, but I love the newness and just the better comfort feel.
Sure.
And having this beautiful thing.
You're a season ticket holder. You should want that comfort.
Yep, exactly. So, but we were also talking about just, for me, last year when Jacksonville made its little playoff run, there's Zay Jones is one of my favorite former Raiders. And he was only on the Raiders for a couple of years, but he scored the game-winning touchdown in the very first game with fans at Allegiant Stadium. And he kind of just turned his career around because he started at Buffalo and then he came to the Raiders. He also made the catch that kept the drive alive in Week 18 against the Chargers in overtime. And that led to us kicking the field goal to knock the Chargers out, a rival out of the playoffs. And remember, that's the game that we almost tied. And if we tied, we both made the playoffs.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm a Raider fan, so I don't want the Chargers in the playoffs. I want to knock them out. And so, but Zay Jones. So if the Jacksonville's not playing the Raiders, I'm going to be rooting for Zay Jones. And now they're former Raiders all over the league. And this year, I mean, I hope the Saints win the NFC South and Derek Carr's leading the way. I hope. He hasn't played well yet, and he's a little banged up, but they're 3-2, and they've got a great defense. So I am rooting for Derek Carr. I'm not rooting for the Saints, but I'm rooting for Derek Carr. And as long as they don't play the Raiders, I'm going to be rooting for these guys. And I always pick players from former Raiders who I really liked, and I go, oh, I hope Eltray and Latavius Murray. He's been on 17 teams in his career.
Since he
he was in he made a 80-yard touchdown run to break our 16-game losing streak years ago.
Yes,
and I was there, and so he'll always be special to me. So I'll always root for him when he's not playing against the Raiders. But now that we're in the playoffs for baseball, and we are seeing at least one former Mariner excelling, how does that make you feel, especially since he was a former Mariner this year? But as you guys are watching the baseball playoffs, or are you watching the baseball playoffs, but do you root for former Mariners?
Yeah, it depends on who they are. Paul Sewald, I'll root for Paul Sewald for the rest of his career. Yeah. I mean, his story in general is hard not to root for a guy like, even if he hadn't been a Mariner, it would be hard not to root for him. But yeah, he was nothing but good to the city of Seattle and the Mariners. So I definitely pull for Paul Sewald.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I will pull for Paul Sewald. There are some ex-Mariners last few years that have made kind of playoff runs. Remember in 2016, he was on the Cubs, Mike Montgomery, who I had a good year and a half with the Mariners. I was glad that he got a ring. He helped the Cubbies in the World Series. Just as far as, both Cale and I probably would never root for A-Rod.
Okay.
I could barely root for him when he was a Mariner.
Yeah. I mean, I loved him as a Mariner. I hated how he left. And then, because I thought they offered him a pretty good deal and he wanted,
he wanted
more, but
I rooted for Randy Johnson after he left, even though I didn't like how he left. It took me a little while to kind of get over that a little bit. And
I was bothered that he didn't go in the Hall of Fame as a Mariner. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But he went in as a Diamondback, and those Cooperstown rules I thought there was an outside shot because he had his first Cy Young Award in that 95 year but anyways, Cooperstown said Diamondback, but Griffey I always rooted for.
Yep.
In fact, one of my favorite all-time in person, I went to Safeco then, was Griffey came back as a Red. One of my favorite games ever.
Right.
Just, there's not a ton of playoff experience, but that one was awesome.
Yeah. Clyde Drexler coming back with the Rockets.
Yes,
in Portland was
that's
special.
a good point. There's been some Blazers that
and all of Portland rooted for Clyde Drexler that playoff.
Even when Kersey was playing for the hated Lakers, you had to give.
Oh wow, I don't even remember that. I blocked that.
Yeah,
I blocked that out.
There aren't a lot of Blazers who have left that when they came back wouldn't have been well received. I mean, even to an extent. I mean, Rashid's Blazer history wasn't. It was a little rocky, but I still think. I mean, Portland Trailblazer fans are some of the most forgiving people.
They're like Mariner fans to an extent, right?
Yeah.
Did Rashid win 2 titles with the Pistons or one? I can't remember.
I think he just won one.
It was just that 1 year.
It was just that 1 year. But Blazer fans loved it.
Sure.
And he wore the championship belt the next year. I remember seeing that. Things like that. So it was, but now Dame is
Dame will get a standing.
He will.
So and the Blazers are probably not going to win the NBA title this coming season, but the Milwaukee.
Oh, you could get great odds, Pod.
Yeah,
Paul.
Right?
Great odds, Paul. You could,
Milwaukee Bucks
put $10 on that,
and everyone in Portland will be rooting for Milwaukee. Everyone in this, in Blazer
for
country.
sure.
Yeah. So, but I just who are some former Mariners that are still playing right now besides Sewald?
But I was going to go a Seahawk.
Okay.
Because it was a really weird experience. So in this current iteration of the Seahawks, my favorite player was Bobby Wagner. And last year when he left, I was ticked, right? I was like, but I understand what we're doing and what we have to do. And then the fact when he came back this year, I have never experienced that where you lose a guy,
right?
A guy that you really liked, and then he's only gone for a year and he's back. So that's been a big
and playing at a high level,
playing at a very high level. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
But Mariners right now, in the last couple of years, besides Seawald, I was going to say, the Dodgers are about to lose. Chris Taylor, he was one that there was a playoff year that there was like 6 or 7 ex-Mariners within like 2 seasons that are just like playoff heroes and just like what in the world. But Taylor had a couple of good years.
Thanks, Jerry, for getting rid of it.
I mean, it happens in all pro sports.
It does,
but it seems like in baseball
to stick out.
It happens more.
Right?
Yeah. There's just more player turnover, it seems like. But whatever. But
because there's nobody on.
You didn't, Jesse Winker, did you pull for him this year?
Boy, Winker, he was riding a pine in Milwaukee. Yeah. But Texas and Houston don't have anybody.
Right.
I don't think
no.
I mean, besides Seawald, that's the big name. I mean, I guess
I'm trying to rack my brain right now.
Maybe even a reliever somewhere, one of those journeymen, but I don't think so.
No.
So, by the way, if Texas and Houston play in the ALCS, do you guys just not even watch?
Well, no.
I just hope both teams lose. Right?
Well, that would. Me too, but I would. There's no way I'm rooting for Houston. Right. So
no, I know, but here's what's frustrating. Well, again, not to go so down the rabbit hole, but like. Seager and Simeon, like just one of those guys, Dipoto, one of those guys.
Nope. Put one of those guys in our middle infield. Well, we're probably still playing.
Wow.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. If you look at their years, both 3,100.
And well, but we were only willing to pay them 54% of what they wanted. So
stop.
You
want to talk about one of the all-time worst press conferences? I mean, are you? Holy cow! That's really what you're going to tell Mariner fans? We're doing you a favor.
We're doing you a favor.
We just want to win 54% of our games.
Which I'm glad that now, to an extent, I think he did kind of an apology, non-apology. He clarified. It's better than what some GMs probably would have done. And the radio station in Seattle. I'm not trying to plug them, but those guys normally ask them pretty softball questions.
Right.
Hey, did you put your calzone in your pizza maker? That kind of stuff, right? But I felt that they asked Dipoto some good follow-up questions. And he answered, what I don't think he was trying to do, which he said was, I was trying to be funny.
Oh, no.
I don't think there was any sort of humor laced in. If he really was, I don't believe he was trying to be funny. I don't even understand what the punchline would be that we're doing the fans a favor.
Jerry Dipoto is many things, and arrogant is probably one of them. And he was trying to. He thought he was the smartest guy in the room, and he could explain the way he was trying to build a team so everybody would understand and would like him. And come on, man, it was utterly ridiculous.
I will say now he should be more used to media attention than me. But in my job, I do the questions. I ask other people the questions. Well, a couple of weeks ago, and I can't go into detail of what I was doing, I got sat down for an interview, and I will explain that in a future podcast. But it was a half an hour interview, and I can't remember anything I said. I was like deer in the headlights, and it's like I wonder if that happened to him. And he just said, "Oh,
no." I think I kind of agree with Cale a little bit. They came up short. They needed to win one more game that last week.
Yep.
Couldn't do it.
As Paul likes to point out, one more game over the entire.
You're right, and that's where and
course of the season
in our text chain.
So you need to own it, Jerry, that you didn't go out and this whole concept of we develop and trade. Well, that you have to give away assets because you're trading. So you've developed these young pitchers, and now your plan is to be able to trade one of them, even though you should really hold on to that depth as long as you can. When, as you just pointed out, Tony, there have been 2 guys on the free agent market the last 2 years that, yes, would have been expensive, but the fan base is supporting the heck out of you. You could have you could have afforded either one of those guys. You could have.
Yes. Yep. And they still would have only been, just give them their full salary, just one, and they're still out of the top 10 major league salaries.
So if you all could see this right now, I'm doing the excellent. I started talking a little baseball, and I got them going because
yes, you did.
They're not watching their team this year in October like they thought they were going to be. And I feel for you.
Hope springs
But
eternal.
again, remember, misery loves company. I am a Raider fan. I've had 2 playoff years in 20.
That's 20.
In the last 20, and haven't won a playoff game since, 2002 or something like that.
That's
So,
Super Bowl year.
Super Bowl year. So, yeah, I
the
feel your pain.
The difference there, Paul, is the Raiders front office has made dumb decisions, chosen to not invest into their product.
They haven't. So what you're saying is the Raiders haven't decided. Oh, we're gonna go 9-8 every year because that's 50.
We can afford because we're only going to spend enough money to do that, as opposed to no, we're going to take Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Ouch. Whoops. Yeah. Dang.
Chandler Jones. I mean, just it doesn't matter. Yeah, everything.
Or a couple of those draft picks with Gruden and.
Oh my gosh, I was looking. I think 6 of the last 7 first-round picks. Well, 5 are not on the team. 5 of the last 7 first-round picks aren't on the team. The other one was Josh Jacobs, who we didn't want to pay, but finally did pay. But he's still a running back, so you never know how long it's going to last. Yeah. And the other guy's the guy who's on the team this year, who's had a very, very slow start to his season.
Would you say the Gruden-Mayock combination, it was the anti-Shanahan-Lynch combination?
It's a good way to do that.
I guess that's true. But we also, the Shanahan-Lynch thing, if Purdy doesn't work out, they're getting crushed.
That is true.
You never know. They gave away the house for a guy that now backs up Dak Prescott.
All right, good point.
Is he the third string? Or did Cooper Rush played the other day?
No,
I don't even know if he's third string. He's the emergency.
Did Trey play on Sunday night?
No, I don't think so.
So he's the third string quarterback.
Well, they have those new rules for the third string.
Right. I saw. Yeah, that's what I know. But it's just my point is that they gave up the house. Now, Purdy is incredible. He is the next Tom Brady, Joe Montana, whatever. So far, it's weird.
Good.
You don't want to say it just so early in a career, but my God, he's so good. So they can pay all that money for that defense, so it looks a lot better.
For now they can.
For now they can.
Correct.
Yes, he won't be cheap forever.
No.
Yeah, and then they'll do the Seahawks thing, and then now will everyone turn on Purdy like they turned on Russ? Never mind. We're gonna go down.
Well, if he demands his way out of town and then he goes to Denver and he sucks, yeah.
I know Bronco fans who say it's no fun rooting for him. And it's like, and it's crazy because it's kind of like what you just said about A-Rod. You got A-Rod in Seattle, and it's like, gosh, I don't want him. He's kind of a jerk. Anyway. So, oh man, pro sports, they keep us alive and they kill us at the same time.
Correct.
That's how it is for my fandom. So, anything else you guys want to add?
I do have one thing.
Okay, Tony.
I'm trying to remember if it was last pod or 2 pods ago. We talked about high school football rivalries, and our friend Brian Levesque. He responded to a pod, and I just wanted to get this in. So Brian, as you guys know, is JSHL football guru and stat guy, and so I said I didn't know how long the Columbia River Kelso rivalry was. Well, he did some homework for us, so I just wanted to read this real quick. He put this on Twitter. Columbia River has played Kelso 43 times. River leads the series 22-20 and 1 tie. First game was in 1966. They didn't play between 1968 and 1972 and 83-84. They did play 31 consecutive years from 85 to 2015, but haven't played now for the past 8 seasons. CR has won the last 5 games.
Wow.
So Brian went deep.
So
I appreciate that, Brian. Thank you.
Brian does a lot of great work.
And he has all that ready to go.
Yep. And I wonder why River and Kelso don't play each other. It seems like, but River and Skyview do. Oh yeah, it's raining money. It's just raining money in here. We don't care about the score. We don't care about the score. We care about the game.
Paul does not work for a school district.
He does not.
Okay. That is awesome. That's a great way to finish this out. Yeah, Tony and Cale are whistling right there. They're not going to comment on that. But there's a lot of money in that Columbia. A lot of money in the River Skyview game. A lot of money. Hey, thanks a lot. We're gonna we'll post this and then we'll be back week 9. Well, actually, the 3 of us are going to be in the broadcast booth for Skyview versus Union, which on paper may not be a great game, but maybe it will be a big game. Maybe we don't know because we got a couple weeks left to figure out how big of a game that is. And we're going to have a blast. We're going to be doing a little half podcast, half play-by-play stuff. We'll figure it all out. Until then, say goodbye, Tony and Cale.
See you.
Goodbye, Tony
Thanks.
and Cale.
I knew that was coming. I walked right into that. Take care, everybody.